Welcome to Flutter Teacher. In this video, we will learn break in the Dart. So without wasting time, let's get started. Break is actually a keyword in Dart and it is used to terminate the execution of loop as well as the switch case. In case of switch case, we go on writing multiple cases. Now consider that your task with particular case is done and you don't want to continue with the next case. So in this case, break will help you to stop a particular case and jump out of the switch case. Now the question here is why someone should use break in case of loop. So if you have observed a loop carefully, you will notice one thing: loop will stop only and only when condition in loop becomes false. So consider a situation where condition inside a loop is true, but you want to jump out of the loop. That is, you want to stop the loop and you don't want to continue with the loop, yet you just want to go out of the loop. So in this situation, you will find a break is really useful. If you use the break in case of loop, forcefully you can stop the loop and you can simply jump out of the loop. A break can be used in while loop, do while loop, for in, as well as in the for each loop. In case of Dart, use of break is only valid in loop and switch case. Other than loop and switch case, it is invalid to use the break keyword. Dart supports regular break as well as the labeled break. Don't worry, we'll understand what is this regular break and label break with the example. Now let's understand how break works in case of loop. This is a simple for loop I have written here. You can see it has got some initialization, condition, and some increment or decrement maybe here. So I have a few statements here and the statements here. So in between I have written if and some condition is specified. And when the specific condition becomes true, then the break inside this if will execute. And as this arrow suggests, you can see it will make me to jump out of the loop. That is, this loop will stop and simply control jumps out of the loop. And here I have the same flowchart that indicates how break works in case of loop. Now let's try to understand example program of the break. Here I have a for loop that prints the values from 1 to 10 on the screen. So when I run this program, you can see I will get output 1 to 10 over the screen. So this loop will stop only and only when the value of I becomes 11. So as long as it is not 11, this loop is not going to stop. But consider a situation, I want to stop this loop when the value of I becomes 3. So simply I can write if and I can write I is equals to 3, and inside this I can specify the break. And when I rerun this program, you can find that the output on the screen is only 1 and 2. The reason here is when value of I becomes 3, immediately the break will execute and that will help me to jump out of the loop. Let's try to understand what is label break. But before that, we should understand the concept called nested for loop. The for loop that I have placed inside is called as the inner for loop, and this one which is placed outside is known as the outer for loop. So the outer for loop is going from the value of I from 1 to 3, and the inner for loop is working for the values of j from 1 to 3. And inside this inner for loop, I'm simply printing the values of I and the j. So when I run the program, you can see I will get the values regarding this particular output. Now consider that I simply want to stop this loop when value of j becomes 2. So I can write here if j is equals to 2, and simply I can place a break here. When I run this program, you can see when the value of j becomes 2, this inner for loop is getting stopped. That's the reason on screen I'm not getting the value of j is equals to 3. You can see I'm getting j is equals to 2 here. Again, value of j is 2 here and value of j is 2 here. So I'm not getting the value of j as 3. The noticeable thing here is that this break will only stop this particular inner loop, so it won't allow me to stop this outer loop. The reason here is control of break is only for the nearest for loop. That is, this break can only break the nearest for loop. That is, it can break only the inner for loop. It cannot break the outer for loop. But consider a situation when value of j becomes 2, I want to break even this outer for loop. So for this, I can use the label break. So I need to specify some label here. So I can write like this, say outer loop, and make sure that the label is a valid identifier in the Dart. So I have specified a label here as the outer loop, and labels are always written using this colon symbol, and I need to specify here that break outer loop. So what will happen When I use break outer loop, it means when the condition becomes true, that is when value of j becomes 2, this break will help me to break the loop and jump the control out of this labeled break. That is, control will jump out of this particular outer loop, and when I run this, you can see when value of j becomes 2, the outer for loop has stopped and control jumped out of this outer for loop, that is out of this particular bracket. That's it for this video. See you guys in the next video. If you really like the way I'm explaining the concept, then don't forget to like, share, subscribe my channel and hit the bell notification button to get my latest videos.